Well, we're back for round two.
Round two.
We had audio issues last time I got to sit down with Val, and so hopefully I don't have them this time.
Fingers crossed.
This is Val. She is the head brewer at Phantom Fox, and one of my favorite people in the industry. So I would love to have you just introduce yourself again and tell people how about you. And
hi, I'm Val. I am not originally from Arizona, but I've lived in Arizona. I moved to Arizona in 2005, so at this point I might as well be from Arizona. I moved away to California in 2015 to find myself and pursue some creative outlets, and stumbled my way into brewing out there, and then found my way home in 2022 after getting married. My husband's family and my family both live out here, so decided it was time to make a move back, and moved back, and now I helped build Phantom Fox from the ground, which I'm really proud of. And
got some beers here.
Yeah, we're only a few months away from our second anniversary, and that's
amazing.
Crazy to think about. So
that's crazy.
Yeah,
time flies.
Time does fly.
So you said you stumbled into brewing.
Mm-hmm.
You worked at Scottsdale Beer Co. here.
Yep.
Right prior to moving to California.
My first brewery job was actually at Santan. I was a bartender at Santan for a really brief period of time.
At the pub.
Yeah, the Downtown Chandler. Yeah. Super fun spot.
Yeah.
But yeah, when Scottsdale Beer Company opened, there's just a lot of opportunity there for leadership and whatnot. So I helped get them open, and then moved out to California. Was originally working at a cocktail bar just because I moved out there with being in the service industry. I didn't have a job, so basically just took the first job I could find. Yeah. Opened a little cocktail bar in Santa Monica, which was really fun. But that was really where I realized that while I love alcohol of all kinds, I really deeply missed beer. Yeah. And like we only had 5 bottled beers on, and I had fought to be the one that got to choose them, and then I was like, maybe I could do little training things with the staff so they could understand what these beers are, and nobody cared, you know. So I was scrolling Craigslist at 4 o'clock in the morning one night and saw that Firestone Walker was opening a tap room in Venice, and jumped on that opportunity, became a bartender there, and then made friends with the brewer and weaseled my way into a part-time helper gig in there, and then just slowly worked my way up until they let me be in there full-time, and got a scholarship to brew school after that happened, and the rest is history. So
where's that brew school? It was an online. You did it online.
I did it online, but it was through Siebel Institute of Technology, which is out of Chicago.
Yeah.
And they have a bunch of different programs. I took their advanced brewing theory program, which was super fun. That's
so cool. So does that program it obviously covers everything, but it's the process, the chemistry, the
Yeah, it's a 9-month intensive and you can do it in person, and it's even more condensed and even more intensive. But yeah, the self-guided online course. It was a 9-month course, and it goes over everything from raw materials, like how they're grown, how they're how malt is malted, how hops are grown, how they're bred, how they're all of that, how yeast works. And then you get into the science of actual fermentation chemistry, and then how to run a brewery, how breweries are designed, how the equipment is engineered, how the cleanliness works, all of it's a full, top to bottom intensive.
What did you study in college?
French and history with a minor in art history.
So obviously applicable to beer.
Clearly.
Beer is historical.
Obviously.
Yeah.
It's one of the oldest beverages in the world.
It is. Was it only mead is older or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember when I was in Scotland and touring all the different castles, it was here's the ovens, and then here's this vat that they made the ale in, and it was that's so cool. And back then everybody was a brewer, right? People just brewed beer at home because
lots of people did,
safer than drinking water.
Well, monks were some of the first people, and women were actually the first brewers. Brewhas. They sold their goods at market. That's what they would mark their stalls with the broomstick, which is how the witch pointed hat and the witches and the cauldrons, that all became witch lore.
But
they
that was
actually
beer.
started as brewers. Yeah.
That's incredible. Is that don't you have your Hefeweizen is called
Brunhilde.
Brunhilde, but
Yeah.
that's
more of a German fairy tale situation.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's very cool. So tell me about Phantom Fox. You said 2 years.
2 years.
But Trent and Eric, the owners, have been in the industry for longer than that.
Yeah, they opened Chupacabra. It's been 6 years since they opened Chupacabra, and that's like 100 yards away from Phantom, which is pretty great. And Chupa's an amazing little dive bar, and it's actually how I met them.
Yeah.
I live really close to both spots, and so I had just been going there after I got off work to drink and hang out because I liked them.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was looking for a new job right around the time that they were looking for a brewer, and I had told myself, like, maybe if I just keep putting myself in front of them, like when it comes time for them to think about a brewer, they'll like remember that I'm a brewer. And it turns out they were pursuing me at the same time I was pursuing them. So
that's awesome.
Really was kismet. Things just, the right door opened at the right time.
Yeah, no, that's incredible. And I mean, you've already won several awards. You've done a lot of work in 2 years. You just do your 100th batch recently?
We just brewed our 128th batch, I think, this week. Yeah, so we've been cranking.
Because when we brewed a beer together back in, what was it, February?
Yeah, when was the Flavors on Main event?
It was at early March, so we would have brewed it in February. You weren't at 100 yet.
No, the 100th brew day was actually the Pink Boots brew day.
Okay.
Love doing a collab with them every year. And yeah, that brew happened to be on the 100th brew, which was
that's really cool.
Dual celebration. It was fun, really fun.
Did you name it something fun?
I let the girls choose the name for it, and they named it after me, which was really sweet. They called it Valiant.
Oh, I've had that beer.
Yeah. I felt it was a bit egotistical, but they liked it. So
you are notoriously humble for how sensational of a brewer you are.
Oh, that's very kind.
So when you opened Phantom Fox, what was, you had other brewing jobs before, but what was like did you go into it with sort of a vision, like a philosophy of what kind of beers you're making, or are you just, how do you?
I mean, yes and no.
Yeah.
I mean, luckily, like, my owners had a real clear, like, we all three have a real passion for clear hobby beer.
Yeah.
So my favorite is a Pilsner, like, never going to beat a Pilsner. Good German Pilsner for me is like tip top.
Yeah.
Their absolute favorite is West Coast IPA.
Right.
And the two things that I like brewing the most are Pilsners and West Coast IPAs. And so that's kind of the core of our brand identity. And then I had a couple of other styles that I'd had some decent experience making that I wanted to throw into our core lineup. Chupacabra is our Mexican lager, and that's been easily our most successful beer to date. And that's great. I didn't expect it to take off the way it has, so you can find that one all over the city at this point. So
that's
really
awesome.
Proud of that. But yeah, we're so small and we have so many taps that it's really fun. We have our limited lineup of cores, and I even have like what I call rotational cores, which is kind of an oxymoron, but like I have an ESB that I love to brew, and then I have like an American Amber, and because those are so similar, like they fight with each other when they're on at the same time, but you can rotate them. So anytime I run out of the ESB, I brew a batch of the Amber, and then when the Amber runs out, I go back to the ESB. I have a couple of different light lagers that I like to brew, and we'll just throw them in alternating.
Yeah.
So you'll see brands return, so I don't have to write one-offs like all the time, but I'm also like writing one-offs all the time.
Yeah.
So because we have so much tap space, it allows me a lot of freedom to play around and come up with crazy ideas and throw things at the wall and see what sticks.
I love that.
Kind of stuff. Yeah.
I mean, it's to me one of the unfortunate things I think about some of the bigger breweries is that because they lean so hard on their like core beers that sell well, it's like they just start churning nothing but that out.
Yeah.
And they sort of lose that like creativity.
I mean, it definitely takes the fun out of it from the brewer's side.
Yeah.
But that was something that I was really explicit with about in my interview process with them, was that I don't really have any interest in being a production brewer.
Yeah.
Like small taproom pub brewing is my passion.
Yeah.
15 barrels is a plenty large system for me.
It's a lot of beer.
we have several 30 barrel tanks. So like, yes, we will be ramping up our production and sizing up our batching and whatnot.
Sure.
But like our building's footprint is really small, and we don't really have, we're building a small addition right now, but that's going to be like we're hoping to put a couple of like 1 and 3 barrel tanks in that space.
Okay.
So I'll be able to play around with more small batch stuff, because right now 15 is kind of the smallest batch I make at any given time. So we have room to grow, but not too much room to grow.
Yeah.
So like there is a cap to what I'm going to be able to do, which kind of keeps us locked into the ability for me to continue to have fun and play with things, and while still keeping core brands successful and keeping growth within the business. But like, I have no desire to just be churning out the maximum capacity of 2 beers and that's it, you know.
I'm curious if like you had some core beer, like 2 core beers that just started selling like crazy, and the demand for production of that. Would you ever consider like doing a contract for brew for those, so that you can focus on doing? No, it's not your style.
No, I mean, I totally.
I'm always curious, like what people's mentality is behind that.
I totally understand why people do that, and it makes sense for a lot of people's businesses. But from my perspective, it's like I put my whole heart and soul into like, this is my passion and this is my career and my professional reputation, and like you can take the exact same recipe with the exact same specs, like even the same scale. You can go from one 15-barrel brew house to another 15-barrel brew house. That's different. And it's a different beer. Like they just, even if you're doing everything the same, those 2 beers are not going to be the same. So while some people, contract brewing is really successful for them, it's just kind of a control. I'm a control freak when it comes to my beer, totally, and it's just a level of control I don't think I'd be willing to sacrifice.
One thing I noticed when I brewed with you is that like, brewing is a very creative process, but you also have this thing down, like in terms of like all the data, all the numbers, the
minutia.
pH, the really, and obviously a lot. I feel like most brewers probably are doing that, especially like sort of the newer generation of brewers. Did you have any? I mean, your degree's in art history and stuff. So did you have sort of that science brain before, or did you just find it in the context of brewing? I
am not a math science person. I am an arts lit person. But I have always been a really passionate person as well. So like when I find something that interests me deeply, I throw my whole self into it. And beer was one of those. I had such a passion for finding out like how to create like really good beer, and I got so lucky with Firestone being the first brewery that I worked for. Like could not ask for a better place to learn. Talk about a place that has like the highest quality standards, the like best equipment. It's so like everything is so dialed in there, and everybody on their staff is really well educated too. So I was just a sponge, and I just got to learn from so many different people who were so there's like the precision is one of the things about beer that makes a good beer, is being really precise with everything. And so my personal brand of autism allows me to apply like certain levels of like laser focus on things and like data. I'm really good at, and I guess my history degree did apply there in a way, because you have to remember so many, I took so many art history exams where you just have to look at a painting and be able to list off the title, the artist, the year that it was painted, the movement it was a part of, 3 different elements about like why this fit stylistically, you know what I mean? You'd have to like list off all this data. So like reconnaissance of a lot of data is always something that I've had a propension for. This is just the first time I ever had a scientific outlet to apply it to. Played in my favor.
That's very cool. So obviously, whenever anyone says that they've never had Phantom Fox beer, I'm always like, oh man, you got to check it. The beer's really good. The brewer there started at Firestone Walker's R&D brewery, and they're always like, oh my gosh, really? Like it's this. What's the word they use? It sounds bad, but for like racehorses, like the pedigree, like it's like the pedigree of
That's so snobby.
I know, right? But of breweries, like Firestone is recognized that way. So so you said that you were bartending there, and then you kind of weaseled your way into part-time, but like, what was that process like, and like what did they have you do at first, and then how did you?
Well, so when they opened that spot, it's like one of the coolest brew houses ever. If you ever get a chance to go out there and look at like just the equipment, it's it was like the Cadillac, the Ferrari of brew houses. But they'd only sent one person down to run it. It was a 10 hectoliter, so 8.5 barrel system.
Okay.
And it doesn't really matter how small your brew house is. Like, running a production program completely by yourself is extremely overwhelming.
Yeah.
Especially getting one off the ground, even if construction was not a part of your job. Like, just the sheer amount of logistics and administrative work that go into creating recipes and ordering materials and keeping all of your inventory updated, and then executing that, and then cellaring that while you're still writing the recipes, while you're still cellaring beer, while you're like, it's so much. And the brewer was like one of the nicest. He's still one of my best friends. And I was closing the bar one night, and he was having a shift pint one night. He was there late, and I just sat down to have a beer with him and was like, I love beer, and while I don't have any hands-on experience in a brewery, I'm smart and I'm a fast learner. So if you ever do come to a point where they let you bring on help, or you decide you need help, like, I would love the opportunity to learn. And we'd had a couple of other home brewers on our staff that had been really aggressive with him about, like, so when are you gonna let me in? So when are you gonna let me in there? And it rubbed him the wrong way. And so me just being like real chill about it, and like, whenever, like, if you do, I'm here for you, you know. I think that's really what opened the door for me.
Yeah.
So I was lucky. They let him bring on a handful of apprentices, and so we each got different days of the week, which each dealt with different tasks. So like, certain people got put on like tank CIPs, some people got put on packaging days. I got put on brew days. So that was just me having a good rapport and getting lucky. And then I just had a knack for it. Like, I've always loved to cook. I have a pretty rich culinary background as well. I was in the process of opening a food truck at one point. So like,
cool.
And baking was always my thing, which also is a really precise art and science, right? So
cooking is like, that tastes good, or like that, but baking you can't add more sugar at the end to, like, because
cake isn't sweet enough. Oh no. So I think that played in my favor there too. I just picked it up really quickly. And I'm a hard worker, so like, you know, boss would come in sometimes and find the other guys slacking or on their phones, and then like he loves to tell this story to people. There was a week that he'd been struggling with all of the other assistants. Like, he kept coming down, and like, they weren't in the brewery, they were like fucking jacking off with the kitchen crew, and like, they were just chilling, like they were on their phones. He was like, what is happening here? And so he came down on one of my days and couldn't find me. And he was like so ready to be mad at me. He's like, Val, like looking for me everywhere. He comes around the corner to the back side of the brew house, and I'm literally on my hands and knees scrubbing the grain grates. I'm like, yeah? He's like, never mind, continue, all good. Because I had asked him before, like, if I don't have anything to do, like, what do you want me to do? And he's like, if you don't have anything to do, clean something. So, because cleaning,
that's one thing I've always noticed about your brewery. It's like pristine.
90% of brewing is cleaning.
Yeah.
And if you don't like cleaning, you're probably not going to be a great brewer. But yeah, so it was just that. I think it was my propensity to learn, the passion that I had for the job, and then the fact that I'm really, you know, I was willing to do all the dirty stuff and work really hard. And so when the opportunities arose where assistants dropped off one by one due to various other opportunities, a couple of them, you know, moved up north to be a part of the big brew crew, and so I started picking up their shifts, you know, like, well, I'll take their days. And then eventually it was like just me, and so I parlayed that into like, well, can I just come on full time and like be the assistant? And so that was a process, but I'm glad I got there.
That's really cool. So at the R&D brewery for a brand like Firestone Walker, like what were you guys brewing? Like, what was that process of, like, this is like brainstorm sessions, like, hey, I want to try this, or like, how did?
I mean, I didn't really, especially because I was like newbie.
Sure.
I didn't really get to be a part of a lot of that, like too much of that process. But I mean, and I think it was Firestone's first time having a facility like that as well. So I was there from day one, you know, so like they were still learning how to use that facility. I think they're using it really effectively now, and a lot more efficiently with what they're trying to do with it brand-wise. But, you know, our beer was only available in taproom. We were not packaging in can or bottle or anything like that, so it was taproom only. We did have a limited number of taps, but we had, you know, a solid number of taps to work with. So it was equal parts just like fun one-offs and raw material trials and pilot batches. So, you know, they would find a new experimental hop that hadn't really hit the market yet, and they wanted to see what that hop would do, so they would send it down to us and we would brew a single hop pale ale with it, just to kind of like see what that hop was like. When the haze craze hit the industry, Firestone was fairly resistant at first to doing a hazy, but then they correctly decided, like, we need to get in on this. So they wanted to do their due diligence and make sure that they were trialing every single way to get, and they wanted, people were doing crazy things with hazies when they came on the market, trying to get them hazy. They were throwing flour in them, pectin, like fruit, fruit sugar, like things, anything they could try to get that haze, and then it wouldn't be stable. It would sit in a can for 6 weeks and it would drop crystal clear, because that's what beer does over time on its own. So they were really trying to figure out how to build a hazy recipe that would maintain its haze, and then also there were so many yeasts available at the time that we were doing a lot of different yeast trials. So we did a whole series of hazy yeast trials leading up to the creation of Mind Haze, which is probably the biggest project I got to be a part of.
That's rad.
I even got to name one of the pilot batches. So
that's so cool. So when you go, do you ever buy Mind Haze?
Not anymore, not usually. But
when you see it in the,
it makes me happy when I see it. For sure.
That's gotta be so cool.
I really don't like to brag about a lot of things that I've done, but that is one thing that I like if people don't know, and I'm like, I helped pilot that beer.
That's so cool. So that piloting process, you would make several batches, with different variations, I'm assuming, of yeasts and hops and grain and all that. And then a bunch of the staff would try it, or the leadership would come down and try it all, or how would that?
None of it actually happened in Venice. Once we packaged everything got sent to the Paso Robles location, because that's their mothership.
Yeah.
And they have one of the best sensory programs I've ever experienced anywhere in the industry.
That's awesome.
And they have a whole panel. They do blind paneling with their their senior staff.
Yeah.
So much of their staff is super trained in sensory. They would round table it. They would sit,
That's
they would
cool.
do blind trials, they would do side by sides, they would do, all kinds of different, and then they would give us their, feedback based on, we got a lot of feedback that this one was too this, or this one was better because of this, and we liked the way this one performed in fermentation better, or this one flocculated better, so that kind of thing. But I just made it and sent it off, that's all.
That's cool.
They have all the fancy lab equipment up there too,
That's awesome. And so when you I have so many questions all the time about this stuff because it's so fascinating. So when they finally chose the beer that they wanted to, let's Mind Haze, they've then they would go to the larger production facility and then they would make it.
Then they would make it. And I want to say that they had several trial batches of that as well before they branded it, promoted it, whatnot. It's a fairly long process. I don't know if you remember when Firestone Lager came back. It was in the white and gold cans, so we piloted that as well, cool. And then that was a whole process. So there was a whole rosé beer trend for a little while. So we piloted Rosalie was theirs, and we piloted that, and that eventually went to market. And these really pretty slim cans. Yeah. That was a really fun product. But yeah, it's definitely we did our part, and we were the start, and then they would take it up there and do more work with it before they really finalized the brand.
So now that you're running your own program. Where do you find out about the new experimental hops and the new experimental things? Is that an industry? Is there a...
kind of. Honestly, staying in touch with my brewer friends that are still brewing in California. California's kind of especially with their proximity to hop growing country. They're kind of on the cutting edge of brewing technology. And also just, I've got a billion distributor connections at a bunch of, I got to go to Hop Harvest last year, so I met a whole bunch of different hop farmers, and you just go to each of your kind of distributor outlets. I have 3 or 4 different places that I buy hops from, and you comb through their inventory lists. And
do you have a favorite?
My favorite's Yakima Quality Hops.
Okay.
And they're really a purveyor of hops, but they did just develop their first proprietary strain, which is called Alani, and it has been one of my favorite hops the last couple of years. I put it in everything. Yeah. Pretty much any time I do a collab, and it was you got any fun, interesting hops that we haven't used? I'm you used Alani. I've gotten to where I can't pitch it for collabs anymore because I've done it so many times. Where, Trent and Eric are going to be really? You did that with the last one, Yeah. But those guys are so nice. They always select really, really quality products, so I always know the hops I'm getting are choice hops. And we went up there for Harvest last year, and they did not have to spend that much time with me. They spent a whole day taking me. I got to go to 9 different hop farms. They took me to, or fields, to see them growing in the fields. Just got to pick right off the vine and smell all the different varietals. Cool. Talk to their farmer who let me look at them under a little one of those little monocle things. So he's look, we got mites on this one, and took me to CLS Farms and gave me a tour of the farm, and then took us to Bale Breaker and bought us beers, and it was just a whole, it was a wine and dine experience. I got treated I was we're nobody, right? But yeah, they just have like the best customer service. It's a family-owned business. It's a uncle, nephew are the ones who run it. And they're just like the nicest people. So quality from start to finish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very cool. You mentioned that you really like Pilsners. And you always have like some variety, whether it's a Czech, a German, New Zealand. That Flightless Bird was really good. Yeah. I just tried was it Australia? Is it a pale ale? Australian pale ale?
Yeah.
So is it Australian because of the hops you use?
Yeah, the hop varietals. All purely Australian grown hops.
That's so cool. Do you have a favorite out of those?
Southern Hemisphere hops are crazy.
Yeah.
They've got such a terroir to them. They all lend, like, they've all got distinctive characteristics, but like overall they're so pungent and so, like, if you're trying to blend a New Zealand or an Australian variety in with other stuff, like, I think what you put, it's going to be dominant. Like whatever Southern Hemisphere hop you're going with is going to be the dominant profile of that beer. My favorite of the Southern Hemisphere is actually a New Zealand varietal, and it's one of the really more delicate flavors, because like the bombasticness of some, like I like blending things. So like sometimes the bombastic nature, and like sometimes all of those hops have like a real dank quality that doesn't, it suits a lot of palates. It doesn't necessarily suit mine. But I think my favorite's Waihiti, which is like a much lower alpha acid content, so it's not super, you can throw a bunch of it like into a whirlpool and get a lot of character out of it without like blowing out your IBU. It's got this really great like apricot kind of quality to it. It's a fun cheater hop. You can blend it really well with other stuff.
Do you have a beer on right now that you used it?
No. It's pretty hard to come by.
Okay.
And I've been waiting, like, you got to find the right recipe for the right hop. Just haven't found something to throw it into yet. We'll get there.
Yeah. Very cool. Is there a beer that you haven't brewed, like a style or a beer that you haven't brewed that you really want to?
I have not brewed a German Helles yet.
Okay.
A Helles lager. And Helles lager is easily one of my top favorite styles.
So good.
So I've been...
It's like a piece of toast and liquid
bread.
Toast.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so
like that
good.
golden toasty flavor. And partially just because I want to make sure I'm doing the style justice, and partially just because I want to find the right spot to put it in my schedule. It's like you can't just throw that beer in anywhere. It's got to be... We can't have like a million things that it's going to compete with on, and if we've got certain demand for certain styles, and we've been doing so many collabs and like events and special beers and stuff that like just haven't gotten around to a point where I'm like, it's going here, it's going here. Plus like seasonally, like you don't really want to, I don't want to release that at like Christmas time or something. I want it
summertime,
springtime, summertime when lagers are like in high demand.
Yeah. So because lagers take longer, right? Because you have to crash them and ferment them at lower temperatures.
They generally do better when you get to condition them cold for longer.
And so when you brew them at Phantom Fox, does that limit the production of the rest of the beer, or do you have enough fermenters where you're able to kind of fit that into your schedule reasonably? We
do have enough fermenters. We also have a bright tank, so if I really want to age something for a long time, I can. There have been a couple of times we called it an international lager, I think is what we called it last year, which was actually just supposed to be a German Pilsner, but because we're so small and we have so little storage space, I pretty much only ever have raw materials on hand for what I have planned. And the German crop was like terrible in alpha, so like I had planned this recipe for my hops having like a certain amount of alpha acid in them, and then I get them and it's like 2%. I'm like, 2%? Like, what am I supposed to do with that? So I threw everything that I had at it, but there was just no bitterness, right? It just didn't have any of that pop, none of that, like, crispy bitterness. But it was a really smooth lager, and it was very European tasting. So I was like, we'll just rebrand this one. But then, last summer being our first summer, we definitely had some growing pains, and it was so hot. And we did not have an air conditioner that could keep up. And on brew days, we have the pizza ovens going in the front and the boiler going in the back, and it was just way too hot in that building. So anyway, we ended up going through a period of time where we really didn't have any empty keg shells available. Like, we weren't getting them back from the market fast enough, and we weren't selling through in the tap room fast enough, and I was still cranking through production as if we were in season. And that was that's a learning curve on my part too. But we had this beer that like didn't turn out the way I wanted it to. Decided to rebrand it, and then kind of didn't have packaging space for it anyway. And then if I remember correctly, I also like took my vacation. So I was like, let's just let it lager. Like, I was like, we've got all these other empty tanks. We'll just wait until we come back around in the rotation or whatever. So we got to lager that one for a long time. And it came out really good. It's been one of my favorite lagers we've made.
Which one was that?
Mr. Worldwide.
It's a great name. Your beers always have fun names. Is that coming from you, or is that like a brainstorming session with the rest of the team, or was that
a little bit of everything? Like it usually starts with me, and being Phantom Fox. So we were originally supposed to be called Urban Legend.
Okay.
And we got hit with a cease and desist from a distillery in Northern California called Urban Legend Cellars.
Got it.
But like my first several, during construction, there was only so much I could do. So I was sitting around just writing recipes a lot of the time. And so when I was coming up with names for everything, I always kind of started with folklore or like urban legends, ghost stories. Like if you've ever been to Chupacabra as well, it's all very macabre. Like everything's kind of got a dark, our logo looks a little evil.
The logo's rad.
So like, that was always my jumping off point. So, like Brunhilde, I'm brewing a traditional German style. So let's look up some traditional German folklore that I could like choose a cool name from. And we've got a whole Chupacabra as one of those as well, even though that's really because the bar's named Chupacabra.
Yeah.
But like the Temptress, for instance, is like our core hazy, and that was actually I'm not even gonna remember the name of it now. But the folklore that one was based on was actually like a siren of sorts. That's like a Colombian folklore,
cool.
And she has her feet on backwards, so you can't track her. And she's got this long hair that covers her face, and she lures men lures men away to consume their souls. So everything kind of started
that's
there.
How hazies make you feel, no?
Sometimes. No, but like. And then you can only do that for so long, and we wanted to have more fun with it and have a little more levity. We didn't want everything to be doom and gloom all the time, So it's equal parts. Like usually I try to have a basis and where like a jumping off point, like Flightless Bird, right? Like that's a New Zealand pilsner, and so a kiwi is the New Zealand bird, and it's a flightless bird. You know what I mean? So everything's got a reason that it's called that. Most of them. Some of them are just like I thought of
the
this.
Exceptional Peel has been one of your best beers, and
And some of them were just off the cuff, like stupid, like, okay, we've got this beer coming up and I have no name for it. Like, what do you got? Like, come up with a stupid name for it, Lip filler.
Was that where Mr. Worldwide came?
Yeah, that's kind of where Mr. Worldwide came. We couldn't think of a good name. I mean, it took us forever to think of a good name for a German Pilsner. I could not, for the life of me, come up with a name for a German Pilsner. And, and we had come up with one that was like, and that's the other thing too, right, is it's really hard to choose. La Ciguapa, that's the Temptress' original name. But anyway, it's too hard to say. It's really hard to choose names that are approachable to people because like being somebody who's super into like history and literature and whatnot, I tend to have like flowery, I'm a little overly verbose with things and like cerebral about it, and so I'll choose like this really cool name, and like because I'm good with language, like it doesn't really, I'll choose something that's like a foreign language word, right? And then I'll pitch it, and everyone will look at me like I'm crazy. They're like, "What the fuck is this word, and how do you say it, and why would we name it that?"
Is that what you're doing with potential baby names?
I mean,
are you getting weird and international about those too?
We definitely there's a balance there. I don't want to name my baby something like real basic bitch, but like also like Mac, my husband's very much like we don't want it to sound like we're trying too hard either. So there's a balance there.
It's a girl, right?
It's a girl.
Am I allowed to say?
Yeah,
Am I allowed to say? I mean, there's a lot of. Do you ever watch the show Vikings?
No, I haven't watched Vikings.
Okay, you should watch it. But Lagertha is like a really rad character. I'm pitching the Viking names now.
Name her Freya.
Yeah, there you go. Freya's actually a kind of a pretty name, I think.
I think I have a friend who has a cat named Freya.
Yeah.
I'm not naming my child after someone else's pet.
That's fair. That's fair. Okay, so you said the Helles Lager.
Yeah.
Have you ever had a Sati?
Yeah, one time.
Would you ever make one of those?
I actually would probably. That's like getting real experimental, and like that comes into play when I can start making test batches, like actual like pilot sized batches of stuff. That's where that kind of stuff will come into play.
When you make that, I would like to be involved.
Yeah, okay.
It's such a. I love that beer, and I've only had like really 2 or 3 of them. Yeah. I had one in Salt Lake City of all places.
Okay. Do you remember what brewery?
Barrel Aged, Proper Brewing Company.
Okay. Ooh, barrel aged.
It was delicious. Like genuinely very, very so I'm like waiting for a brewery in Arizona to make one. So if you make one, I'd like to be involved in some way.
We'll mull that around.
Okay. Very cool.
Talk somebody into that.
There you go. I mean the pilot batch, the having a smaller system, I think there's so many breweries that would benefit from that. Even if it's like a little 5-gallon like grainfather system or something that you could just like
Sabco,
fuck around with.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Well, like currently, because we don't have like a pilot brew house, like a system that we can use, having the smaller tanks will really just be like more for like raw material and like fun, like adjuncted stuff, right? So like if I'm brewing a sour, I can split it off and have a one or 3 barrels go over here and then a full batch go over here, and I'll make like the sour that we usually make that's like been really successful in the big batch because we know it'll do well, and then over here I'll do something fucking crazy with it, or like something, because like fruit's really expensive, right? So like something really experimental that like I can throw a bunch of like high concentration per barrel, you know, dosing rate, without it breaking the bank, because it's 3 barrels, not 15.
Totally. I mean,
or like, I can start doing single hop trials. So if I want to do a single hop pale ale, I can split off a barrel from any of the beers that I'm brewing and just hop it with
make your own little R&D brewery. Bring it all back together. Exactly. That's so cool.
We'll figure out barrels eventually too.
And you guys are getting ready to open a second location.
It's in the works.
It's in the works. Is that, should I cut that out?
No, I mean, I don't know. I haven't been told that's proprietary information.
Okay. Well, I won't get into it any further than that, but
it's on the horizon. Even if the spot that we're currently working on doesn't come to fruition, we are currently shopping in multiple markets for a satellite taproom location.
And so and obviously you're distributing to tap rooms, and you open a second location. How does that affect like how much beer you need to produce? Does it increase it pretty dramatically, then how does that work without having an additional brewing space? Like, do you just have to brew more often? Do you have to start doing like multi-batch days? Or are you already doing
that? I mean, and our brew house is a real challenge with that. Like I said, we have 30 barrel tanks. We have 2 15s and 4 30s. So I do have the capacity to brew, 2/3 again the current volume that I'm brewing. But the brew house has really been my limiting factor because my hot liquor tank is too small. So on a current brew day, and I have to have an assistant brewer who is like an autonomous brewer who can handle a brew day start to finish without anybody there, essentially, so that one of us can handle the first brew and the second can handle the second brew, because there will be some overlap. And like I used to work at Trademark in Long Beach, and they had a high efficiency brewing system with a mash press, which was really, really cool. But that thing could crank through a batch like so fast because the mash press made it so you could get from mash out in your mash tun through the lauter process and at kettle full in like 30 minutes, 40 minutes. So it was really, I would brew like 3 beers in a day there, because you mash in your first one, you get it through to the kettle, and then as soon as you're done with that, you're mashing in a second one, and then as soon as that beer is in the whirlpool, then you're mashing a third one. So you're knocking out one, you're boiling one, you're mashing one, know, so it's all, I would always get real overstimulated at some point.
Did you do that yourself?
I had help there. I had an assistant there as well. I
was like, that's like...
it's not it's a 2-person job. It's not a 1-person job.
When I was like 20 and I had the 1 serving job I ever had, I had a hard time handling like 3 tables at different stages of their dining. And so I can't even imagine.
I had the best help there though. My assistant, and so my assistant there was named Danny, and he is now the head brewer at Hop Saint out of Torrance.
Oh, cool.
We're actually going to do a collab with him soon, and I can't wait. But he was like, first of all, we were like really good friends, so we just had a really good dynamic together. But he was so good at like watching me work and like seeing when I would hit that point, because I always get, it's also part of my autism, is like I get to a point of overstimulation where I start panicking because I can't sort everything out, and I'm really good at multitasking until I'm not, right? And so he would see that happen, and it was usually at the point where we were knocking out boiling and mashing at the same time while trying to grain something out, running around like a chicken with my head cut off, and he would see the look in my eye and immediately just like go over and turn off the music and like turn off a couple of other things and be like, what do you need? And just like help me get things. I'm like, I'm doing too many things. He was like, let me do something for you, So I would give him a task, give him this, give him that, and then like, okay, get things back in order. He's like, all right, I'm gonna turn the music back on, like one thing at a time, like stepping it back up, But awesome. So anyway, back to my brew house. So because my hot liquor tank is so small, we essentially have to find a way to be able to refill quickly with water that's already pretty close to the temperature we need it to be. So that I'm not waiting as long. So basically I have to wait until I'm knocking out my first beer to be able to mash in my second beer, because we've completely depleted the water tank immediately before first knockout, and because of the way that I've plumbed my heat exchanger system, I'm recovering I'm cooling with cold liquor water, and then recovering that into my hot liquor tank after the heat exchange happens, so that I'm not just sending all of that water to drain. So I'm recuperating that water, and then I would need to get that water high enough and at the correct temperature that I could then mash in. Either that, or while we're whirlpooling, we would have to have already refilled the hot liquor tank after I've used hot water to sanitize my knockout rig, so it's like fully empty at that point. We would need to refill it, have it at mash temperature, mash in so we could redrain it, and then use knockout water to refill it.
Jeez.
So it's just a lot of water logistics that I need to figure out.
Crazy.
But so when we get to that point, the goal is to be able to brew 2 batches in a single day.
Yeah.
So we would essentially brew the same beer back to back into one of the 30 barrels, and then the second day we could either do 2 more batches into the second tank, or we could just do a 15 barrel batch.
Yeah.
So we do have, like I said, we have the ability to scale up. It's just going to take a little bit of brain power.
Yeah.
So, and maybe some fancy engineering.
Yeah. It's right up your alley, it sounds like.
My favorite.
Yeah. You guys do a lot of collaborations. Is there a brewery that you haven't done one with that you really want to?
Like anywhere in the world, or like here?
Let's start in Arizona.
I mean, there's always breweries I haven't gotten to collab with that I want to collab with. We're actually about to do one. Wilderness has been high on my list for a while.
Yeah.
One of my buddies who also used to work for Firestone has taken over their brewing program last year, I think about a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
So we've got our first collab with them coming up, so that's going to be a big one. The Bonehouse guys, I've always wanted to do a collab with. Fountain Hills is closer than you think. And their taproom space is
branding and like kind of vibes are very like,
and like everybody that I've ever met on their staff is just like the nicest person. They've always been really kind to me, so I'd love to make a beer with them at some point.
Heck yeah, very cool. All right, well, we're gonna do my questions. Luckily, I forgot most of your responses from last time, so we can go into it just as fresh. I also just noticed that my shirt like blends with the color of this booth.
I was going to point that out.
I'm like
floating head.
That's fine. It's whatever. All right. Feel free to elaborate as much as you want. Your favorite food?
Sushi.
Common in the beer people that I've interviewed so far. Yeah.
Spicy tuna, anything to be specific.
The weird fact about you.
I mean, I've already given you a bunch of weird facts about me. I can solve a Rubik's Cube in about a minute flat.
Wow.
I think a minute 12 is my fastest time.
Is that just like a pattern that you just repeat over and over again?
I learned how to do it when I was like 13.
Are you solving it, or are you just repeating the pattern?
I mean, a little of both, right? It's a little different every time, but you're using the exact same patterns to move the pieces into place.
Got it.
So it's basically just finding where the colors are and moving them. It's just a repetition of pattern.
Amazing. This is the question's beer, wine, or spirits. It seems silly to ask this, so it amended it to wine or spirits. We had to take beer out of it.
Spirits.
Yeah, you said you worked at a cocktail bar. Was that like your first alcohol love, or were you always beer?
Yeah, I mean, well, a little A, a little B. Like, I loved beer from the first time. Like, most people acquire a taste for beer. I loved beer the first time I tried it. I was like, what is this magical liquid? But I've also always had an affinity for cocktails, and I loved cocktail bartending. Was really, really fun.
Yeah.
Like, I've always loved putting together recipes, right?
Yeah,
so like, totally. I was a killer well bartender. That was my zone. But my other hobby outside of brewing is tiki.
Heck yeah.
Which, if you ever come to my house, my room is like borderline embarrassing, but really awesome. I have so many tiki mugs. Yeah, we have a full room.
I love that.
But like, my favorite cocktail of all time is like the 1944 Mai Tai, like a true Mai Tai. There's no pineapple juice in a Mai Tai, for the record. So yeah, spirits for sure.
Yeah.
I love wine as well. I mean, I'm a pretty equal opportunity drinker, but spirits for sure.
Yeah. Is your nursery tiki? If not, you're missing out on.
We definitely debated.
Okay.
And our like when we found out I was pregnant, it was immediately like the first thing. Well, it's gonna have tiki. Like nursery's gonna be tiki, right? We gotta full like. And then we started thinking about it, and we're like, well, first of all, our kids are already gonna be like, my parents are fucking weird, and we didn't want to like push
kids
it.
Don't think that until way later.
We didn't want to like push it on her, you know. And also like we have enough tiki stuff in my house that like.
You know, IKEA has those leaves, those big leaves that you can like mount on the wall.
And like, so we decided to go tiki adjacent.
Okay.
I found a wallpaper that is really beautiful that I really liked.
Fun.
That's like more aquatic. It's more like sea creature type theme. And there's a lot of crossover there, right? So like, there's still gonna be some tiki elements, but we're not going full tiki with it. You know, poor kid, she's doomed.
Yeah. So I was gonna say, what's your favorite spirit?
Honestly, probably gin.
Gin?
Yeah, I love gin.
A good gin cocktail is...
It's got all the complexity of flavor, It's not just...
Sweet or savory?
Can I say both? It depends on my mood. I'm a huge foodie and I love to eat, so it just depends on...
That's fair. Your favorite vacation?
Hawaii.
Hawaii.
I got to go to Hawaii last year, and it's easily the best vacation I've ever taken.
Which island?
I went to the Big Island.
The Big Island.
Which I know a lot of people are like, oh, the Big Island. But it was dope.
It's magical no matter what,
Yep.
I've been a few times, and I always like going to that was like Kualoa Park where they filmed Jurassic Park. And I just get like real nerdy about it. Like,
we went to
the scene where the Tyrannosaurus Rex eats the Gallimimus right here.
Right here. Yeah, we'd be the same way. We went to the Volcanoes National Park. Yeah. And like we took him. Mac just kept saying, "It's like we're in Jurassic Park. It's like we're in Jurassic Park." Yeah, no, it was really cool.
Yeah. I love that. Sorry, I was talking about Oahu, not the Big Island. That's where I've been. But same thing. Same vibes. Rain or sunshine?
Sunshine.
I mean, naturally. California and Arizona.
I do love the rain. Yeah. It's because it's a novelty.
Exactly.
I wouldn't want to live in it all the time.
100%. Same. Your favorite book?
The Shining.
Interesting.
So good. You ever read it?
Who wrote it?
Stephen King.
It was Stephen King?
Yeah.
I've never read it. I obviously watched the movie, but I've never read.
I mean, this is sacrilegious to a lot of film nerds, my husband included, but fuck the movie.
Yeah.
Like, the movie did not do that story. It's its own art piece, but you have to be able to separate it from the story 100%. It was based on, because it did not even it did not touch it. That book is a masterpiece.
Yeah. Okay. I'll have to read it. For me, like a lot of people, when the Lord of the Rings movies came out, people were like, well, they missed out on like Tom Bombadil and like all these other things. Or when I've read Jurassic Park and like the movie is wildly different than the book. Harry Potter, they missed out on several things, and I'm like, it's a different storytelling medium, and you can't.
Well, you can't just. It doesn't translate. It just does. It's boring. I mean, Jesus, it would be like every movie would be 4.5 hours long.
Especially Lord of the Rings.
Exactly.
It's already 4.5 hour movie. Like Lord of the Rings would be like an 8-9 hour
extended editions,
movie.
right? Yeah.
Like
you just can't.
Yeah, no. It's a different storytelling medium.
The Shining in particular, though, I felt like if they were really going to base it off of the book, there were certain elements that they could have very easily included without it like extending the story at all that would have made it way better. But, Kubrick was Kubrick, and no disrespect. He's master of his craft. I get it. My husband and I do not argue about things. Like, we have a very peaceful relationship. One of the only arguments we've ever actually gotten in was over whether The Shining is a good movie or not. Because I had just read the book for the first time, and I was like, that's the best book. So before The Shining, my favorite book was definitely Pillars of the Earth. Okay. Really historic. Like, it's based in like medieval France. And it follows like a poor family, a religious family. Like, it's like all these different intersecting stories, but it's all very history. It's all very my wheelhouse kind of thing. And then my husband got me into horror, and he was like, you have to read The Shining. And so I read The Shining. It was like, blew my mind. I was like, this is the best book I've ever read. So I was like, okay, now we got to watch the movie. I was so mad when the crowd was like, that movie fucking sucked. It's like, what was that? And he was like, because he's like a real cinephile, like he loves film, and he was so offended that I was like, so he's like, I couldn't appreciate. He's like, you have to separate it. And I'm like, you can't base it off of that and then do that with it. It doesn't make any sense. Yeah, no.
I love that. Camping or resort?
Ooh. Depends on the vibe. I like both. I never used to be into camping. Bugs are not my thing. Okay. And I like to wash my hands a lot. Being dirty is not my thing. So typically I would have said resort. But when I met Mac, he got me into camping, and we really love to go camping together. So I feel like if the vibe is right it's the right location for camping, camping is great. But you can't beat a resort,
Yeah. Well, the massage really makes it different than
the room service, the view.
Totally. Beach or forest?
Beach.
Jedi or Sith?
Jedi. I goody two shoes.
Yeah, that's fair. Sam or Frodo?
Oh, that's a hard one. Because you kind of gotta love both of them.
Yeah. But who's your favorite?
I mean, probably Frodo. I got a soft spot for Sam. He's just kind of whiny.
Yeah. Frodo, I think, is a lot of people think Frodo's whiny.
Yeah.
Like, the dude is carrying the whole burden.
I was like, he's the one carrying the burden.
Yeah, exactly. Although most people that I've asked that question to have said Sam. Yeah. Superhero you most identify with?
I have to think about that one for a minute. I don't know.
Your spirit animal?
Lapdog? Is this like an ideal, like
that.
in any existence? What could I do in a situation? If I could just be, I am an active person, but man, I love to rot. So if I could just be sitting on someone's lap with them stroking my hair and giving me treats all day, that would be.
I love that.
That would be the vibe.
That's amazing. This gal I interviewed recently, Jessica, she said that her spirit animal was that really angry baby hippo that's like all over social media. Like,
Moodang.
Yeah. I was like, that's so funny. I love
fair.
it. Yeah. Your go-to coffee shop order?
Americano. Plain black Americano.
I do like that. Your go-to karaoke song?
You Ought to Know, Alanis Morissette.
I love that. You're weird, and you originally moved to California because you were pursuing a music career. And what do you play?
I sing.
You sing?
Yeah.
No instruments?
I play the guitar.
Yeah.
But not well. I taught myself how to play rhythm guitar so I could accompany myself while I sing.
Totally. That's awesome. We'll have to go to karaoke sometime.
This is the thing. This is the reason that I stopped.
The
reason I stopped pursuing that is because I have horrible stage fright, and so
interesting.
And it really when I was in high school, I was a very different person. The world had not broken me yet, so to speak, and I was real big into like musical theater and like I went to high school in the Midwest, so like show choir was a big deal up there, right? So I was really like I was a performer. I was on stage. I always sang solos. I was like lead, I played Anita in West Side Story my senior year of high school, and I was like, it was the most fun I'd ever had doing anything, right? Like performing was definitely my thing. And then, I don't know, as I got older and a lot of things happened to me, music became something that I was doing for myself, and it was like my comfort, and it was my safe space. And the idea of making myself vulnerable enough to opening myself up to criticism of people, like telling me that, criticizing the thing that I love to do the most, that I'm doing basically to make myself happy.
100%.
It just became something I didn't want to do publicly anymore. And then eventually that translated into I'm terrified of doing it in front of people, which makes no sense. But, I sing in my car all the time. And like, you'll catch me in the brewery sometimes when no one's around, like I can sing along with whatever's playing. But, and I'll do karaoke every once in a while, but usually you have to get me a little drunk.
That's fair.
Just a little bit.
That's fair. What's the weirdest food you've ever tried?
I mean, it's not really that exotic, but like uni or escargot.
Okay.
Either of those.
Escargot.
Sea urchin or snail.
It's not fun for me.
You didn't like escargot?
No.
Oh, I liked escargot.
I'm so texture driven.
Where did you try them? Were they good?
I was in France.
Okay, so you were in the right spot because I was like, I tried mine in France and they were something special.
I don't like oysters.
Oh, I
all
love
texture.
Oysters. Yeah, that makes sense.
It's like eating a booger. It's like
kind of is.
For me, it's all textures. So, and flavors, but textures for sure. Historical or fictional character that you want to have a beer with?
Napoleon Bonaparte. Shares my birthday for one, so I've always had a connection there.
Yeah.
And the French Revolution was my area of study, like my specialty area of study. And I find him to be an absolutely fascinating character.
Yeah.
So
he wasn't
not a great
actually
guy,
that short, right?
I mean, not as short. He was short, but he wasn't
as short
like
as people like.
He wasn't like 5 feet tall or something. I think he was like 5'6". 5'7". He was
short.
My height.
Yeah.
But short, but not like
back
Jesus,
then.
What
People
happened
were
to you?
shorter.
He's not Danny DeVito short.
Favorite ice cream flavor?
Graham Central Station from Handel's specifically.
Oh.
It's a graham cracker ice cream with chocolate-covered graham cracker chunks in it. Like
Sounds like a Ben and Jerry's.
So when you're a kid and you take a graham cracker and you soak it in milk until it gets to the point where it just kind of dissolves in your mouth. So imagine that, but then they froze it. Incredible. So it's just like eating liquid.
It's like cereal
graham
milk.
Cracker. Yeah, and then chocolate-covered graham crackers in it. So good.
I remember one time at it was Century Grand or like one of these like cocktail bars. They had a clarified cocktail that used cereal milk, so they'd let the milk soak with like cinnamon toast crunch for a while.
I had that cocktail too.
Yeah.
I think it was at Century Grand.
My battery light is flashing, so we'll wrap it up here. Your favorite TV show, or like your most recent like TV show that you've been...
Hannibal. We recently watched Hannibal, which is not a new series. It was 2013, but it was my first time watching it.
Yeah.
3 seasons. The 3rd season, take or leave, but the first 2 seasons were epic.
Yeah.
Epically amazing.
I'm rewatching Game of Thrones right now, and it's like a weird... People like... Because of how it ended, people are like, "Oh, I hate Game of Thrones," but like, no, you don't. Like the first 5 seasons are masterpieces.
I mean, Dexter is another one of my all-time
yeah.
favorites, and the last season was terrible, but it didn't ruin the goodness of the first, however many. And Breaking Bad was a masterpiece from start to finish.
Yeah. Well, very cool. Well, thank you.
Of course.
Round 2, it worked.
Success.
The audio. I appreciate it. And you have anything exciting coming up other than obviously the addition to the family, but at the brewery, anything exciting coming up soon?
I mean, we got a bunch of collabs coming up. We've got, we're doing an event with a bunch of firefighters, the Firefighters Union. We're brewing a beer for them. We've got a collab with Wilderness. We actually just started brewing a proprietary beer for the Keg Steakhouse and Bar. We are doing 2 seasonals and rotating them, but there will always be one on, so I have a permanent handle there across the city, which is really cool. And then Wilderness collab coming up.
And when's the anniversary, the 2-year?
November.
Okay.
We're actually going out to California for a collab with Beechwood in September as well. So
very cool.
Keep your eyes peeled for that too.
Awesome. Well, yeah, check them out. And thank you, Val. You're sensational.
Thank you for having me.
And yeah, if I would say let's go get a beer, but we'll have to wait.
Nah, I'll drink a soda water.
Thank you.